So in this video I'm going to document how I went about extracting the accuracy and evasion formula from this game, and this is mostly so that I don't forget it, but if this helps other people understand and apply it to other stuff we don't know about the game, that would be great too. So you just want to get yourself into any fight. I chose Shadow Koishi here because she has a lot of evasion, so this should be the best case for testing. And first of all, you want to get a hold of Koishi's evasion, and obviously put cheat engine linked to the exe, and we want to scan for Koishi's HP values. So doing that here, we get these two results. It doesn't really matter that much which one we use, but you want to browse the memory region, and I'm gonna put this over here. So you can see the HP value here, and this should be her attack, defense, magic, mind, speed, and evasion. And let's add this to the list so we can keep track of it. And let's add a breakpoint here to break on access. Whenever the game accesses this value, it'll break execution so we can look at what's going on. We know it's going to access that because it needs to load that value to know if a move's gonna hit or not. So when we use an attack here, the game is going to load that into memory, right? And what it's going to do with that, we don't know yet, but we know that as soon as it loads it into the register, it puts it into some other memory address, EBP minus 18. So if we look at EBP, this is the address, so we're going to look at that offset right now, just to see it getting stored. So C55B30. Okay, so browse this region here, and as soon as we step over this, I think I messed it up. Hang on. C55B30. Oh, obviously, I didn't. B30. This is the address, and it's minus 18. So you go a little bit over here, and here's the evasion. So let's add this to our list of addresses, and let's add a breakpoint here as well on access, because the game is probably going to use this for further computation. So we see here that it goes into push and then into a function. We can follow this to see if it's going to do something interesting with the evasion. It seems to multiply it by 100 or something like that, by some value. Now it's doing something else, doesn't seem that interesting. Now it divided, it's back to FA. No idea why the game is doing this, but you can just step through the instructions like this to see what's going on. If you eventually get bored of it, you can just hit run here and hope that you hit another instruction. So now it loads it into a different place. It loads it into this register. Let's see if this time it will do something interesting with it. Okay, so this seems interesting, right? It loads this, it also loads this value here, EBP minus 20, which is close, but if you take a look, EBP is actually a different address. It's C55CF8. So if we scroll down to it and go a little bit up, you see that we have the value here again. I'm not exactly sure when it was written there, I wasn't paying too much attention, but here it is. So let's add this again because it's being manipulated there. And there's also another value here with a different offset, which is C9. This is my Nitori's accuracy. This value is 201, you can see here. I know this beforehand, that Nitori's accuracy is 201, so I can be sure that this is Nitori's accuracy. So yeah, and this was just a helper address, we don't need this. So now let's try to understand the assembly code here. So we moved the register value to EBP-2C, so it loaded it here. And now we are comparing whatever is on EBP-20, which is C9, to this constant, which is 10,000. And what this code here does is it checks if the comparison was equal to or larger than 0, which would mean that the accuracy was equal to or greater than 10,000. This case isn't, but if it was, you can see here that it would move the value 0 to EBP-2C, which is where the evasion is. So this should lead us to believe that if an attack has more than 10,000 accuracy, the evasion is completely negated and you cannot dodge the move at all. But anyways, now we have a multiplication instruction here, and you can see EBP-20, which is the accuracy, is being multiplied by 100, and the value is going to be stored in EAX. And that's the result right there. And now we move this to the ECX, now we move the evasion value to the ECX register, and we're going to add 100 to it. CDQ is just a conversion instruction. There's no need to care about it right now. Now the game does a division, and idiv divides EAX by the specified register, so in this case ECX. And so what we are effectively dividing here is accuracy times 100 by evasion plus 100. And this result, which is in EAX, will now get stored at EBP-20. So you can see here that it changed to 39 hex or 57 decimal. So let's update our description here. The division result. Now we still don't know what the game's going to do with this result, but just in case, I mean, it will use this for something. So let's put a breakpoint on access here and run the code. So it stopped here after a comparison, and let's just check that this EBP is pointing to the same address we were looking at. So EBP is C55 CF8, and we're looking at 20 offset, so should be right. Yeah, exactly right. So here on 39, it's comparing that value to whatever is on EAX, and EAX in this case is 35. So we don't know where this 35 came from because we didn't step into the functions that change it, but you can see that it is lesser than 39. So whatever that was, and whatever is going to happen, keep that in mind, that 35 is lesser than 39. Let's see if it uses that value for anywhere else. Seems not. So now we can get rid of our breakpoints here so that the game can continue executing. Okay. And the attack hit. Okay, let's try that analysis again. Let's see if we get a different set of numbers. Again, we're going to add a breakpoint here for access on that same address. So this is loading FA into that. This is doing the multiplication, the division, and the comparison again. So this time we got 32, which is also less than 39. Let's see what happens this time. Let's remove the breakpoint. And we hit again. So at this point, you might be wondering if that number is larger, will it mean the move? Does it mean the move will miss? And the only way to test that for sure is to add the breakpoint here and keep trying until we get a larger value. So this time we get 1D, which is smaller as well. Let's see what happens. Should be a hit. And we're gonna keep doing this until we get lucky. Since that number seems random, we don't really have a way to control it. 31 again, so this should also hit. It has to miss eventually. I mean, it's Koishi. So add back the breakpoint. Run. Okay, we get 54, which is finally larger than 39. So if our assumptions were correct, this is going to miss. And it does. So let's do it one more time, just to, you know, make sure. Make sure it wasn't some coincidence. And this time we get 3, so it should hit. $61, so this should miss. And indeed it does. So we have successfully isolated the behavior. So if you want to look into what is going on with the random number, you can see here that hang on, like you could take the result of the division and step into the functions here and try to understand where it comes from, but my guess is that it's just a product of the RNG call, and eventually the game just loads that properly. Like, following all of these instructions is just not for me, especially considering you can just miss it entirely and have to begin anew. But hopefully this should be some help into explaining how I went to deducing that. Hopefully if you're watching you could understand, like, the steps to replicate it are pretty much shown in Cheat Engine here, so hopefully this was a little bit helpful. Thanks for watching.